acid reflux, it's not about too much acid. I know you've been told otherwise. This is a myth. It is your stomach's job to be a bag of acid. So it is not acting abnormally by making acid. What is abnormal is when the stomach, which is a bag, gets compressed, then it has no choice but to bring acid upwards, and that's up into your esophagus, and then you feel the burn. So the bottom line is we have to handle the source of the pressure, and then we handle the problem. So let's break it down a little bit. A little anatomy. What is your esophagus? It connects your mouth down to your stomach. It's that tube. And then it empties into your stomach. Now your stomach, one more piece of anatomy, lies below your diaphragm. So that's a dome-like muscle that's very powerful, and it's your breathing muscle. And as you inhale, it bows down, and as you exhale, it bows up. But there are interesting barriers that our body has to actually prevent reflux. So there's a valve that's called a sphincter in your esophagus. You actually have two, at the top of your esophagus and at the bottom. And primarily at the bottom, what it's doing is it opens when food or drink comes by, and it closes with a nice downward pressure after the food or drink has passed. And that downward pressure is to prevent reflux, things going in the wrong direction. In your digestive tract, it's top down all the way through. Things are not supposed to go bottom up. So you have what's called your first anti-reflux barrier, which is the sphincter or valve at the base of your esophagus. Now, pretty much superimposed on that is the diaphragm, and it's this muscle that, as I said, is this nice, very strong muscle. Is also an organ, but at its center, where the esophagus passes through, is a ring-like structure. It's called a crura, but suffice to say, it's a ring-like structure that also it acts as an anti-reflux barrier as well, and they're pretty much superimposed upon one another. So where this goes wrong is that when the stomach's under pressure and it can push up, that's called a hiatal hernia, then the stomach pushes up above the diaphragm. Now, 95% of the time they're up, down, regardless. When it's up, now that stomach is pushed above the diaphragm can't act as a sphincter anymore. There's also a ligament under the diaphragm that's designed to tether it down that also acts to support this anti-reflux barrier function. So it's pretty amazing. You've got these three anti-reflux barriers built in that should prevent this, but when the mechanics alter, then it can't. And so it has to do with this pressure. So we've got the anatomy figured out. Now, too much acid truly is an oversimplification. So you can also have bile reflux up from your gallbladder. You can have something called pepsin, that's an enzyme. But it's more about the fact that your stomach, as I said, is designed to be a bag of acid. The tissues in your stomach, they love that acidic environment. That's what they're built for. Your esophagus, no, it's not designed to sustain an acidic environment. So it's really just a function of exposure, that the acid is being exposed to these tissues in your esophagus, and they're not designed to be exposed to that. Now, we've all vomited at one time or another, so you know that awful burning feeling, and that is the contents of the stomach going the wrong way, and the esophagus is like, I hated that, it's not pleased. And imagine, of course, if you have reflux, that's happening very frequently. So it's more the exposure of acid, not that you have too much. And I really want to get that point across, because what's happened is people really have bought into this concept that it's too much. And I do appreciate the fact that when you're feeling that burn or you're tasting acid in your throat, it seems like too much, and I get it, but it's not. What it is again, it's moving in the wrong direction, and those tissues that are not designed to be exposed to acid are being exposed to acid. They're not happy, and they're letting you know about it. So what we need to do is not lessen the amount of acid in the stomach. What we need to do is lessen the squeeze, lessen the pressure. So there's a number of different things that can do that. If you're overweight, you have a sustained amount of increased pressure within your abdomen. If you're holding your weight in your abdomen, then that's something that needs to be addressed. Sometimes people are wearing really tight clothes. So this is an easy one. If you really like to cinch your belt and, and wear really tight jeans, that it can be bad pressure. And that's why sometimes, there's somebody's eating a big meal and they lean back and they open up their belt. It's because that pressure doesn't feel good. But if you are ingesting any food and you have really tight clothes on, it's an easy fix. Just don't do that because it's too much pressure. Then another super easy one is you eat and you either hunch over or you bend over. You decide that's the time to lift the couch. No, don't do that. You want to be upright. That's why the idea of taking a little stroll after eating is good. Keeps that motion going, helps with motility, motion throughout the digestive tract, and prevents you from bending over or slouching because you're taking a walk. Then it gets a little deeper, and you need to find a clinician who can really understand what's the cause of bloat, okay, because that's that pressure building up, gas, something called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It's called SIBO, and that's bad bacteria in the upper part of your small intestine that is creating a lot of pressure. Hiatal hernia is creating that pressure that's forcing the stomach up. And what else did I want to tell you? I think that's my list. Yes, and bad posture. But what you need help with from a clinical standpoint is a doctor, clinician who can understand what's the root cause for you of the gas, the bloat. Chronic constipation is a big one. If you've been chronically constipated, not only does it mean that things are not moving through your digestive tract as quickly as they should, but there's a buildup of bad bacteria. That creates inflammation and pressure, so it's coming from down up. So finding somebody who can really help get to the root of this naturally will get to the root of your acid reflux. So I hope you found that helpful. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel and send me a comment. I love your comments. I answer pretty much everyone. And we'll talk soon.